He left me for my best friend on my birthday. But 1 month later, he regretted everything. I always thought 24 would be my golden year. You know the kind, where everything finally falls into place, where life feels like it's written in the stars rather than scribbled in hasty pencil marks. I spent weeks planning my birthday party, making sure every detail was perfect. The soft glow of fairy lights strung across my apartment's living room, the carefully curated playlist mixing nostalgic hits with current favorites, and the specialty cocktails I'd learned to make just for the occasion. Ryan had promised to arrive early to help set up, but he was running late. I didn't think much of it at first. He'd been distant lately, but I chalked it up to stress at work. When he finally walked in, something felt off. The way he avoided my eyes, how his usual warm smile seemed plastered on rather than genuine. But I pushed the worry down, determined not to let anxiety ruin my special night. Lily arrived shortly after, my best friend since college, wearing that red dress I'd always admired on her. She gave me a quick hug, too quick, now that I think about it, and made a beeline for the bar. I should have noticed how she kept glancing at Ryan, how they seemed to communicate in silent looks across the room, but I was too busy being the perfect hostess, too caught up in making sure everyone had drinks and food and was having a good time. The party was in full swing when it happened. I was in the middle of opening presents, surrounded by friends and coworkers, when Ryan cleared his throat and asked for everyone's attention. My heart fluttered. I thought maybe this was it, the proposal I'd been secretly hoping for. After 3 years together, it seemed like the perfect moment. "Scarlett," he began, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. "I need to tell you something, and I think it's only fair to do it now, in front of everyone, so there's no misunderstanding." The room started to spin slightly. Not from the champagne. I'd barely touched my glass, but from the way his words seemed to hang in the air like storm clouds. "I can't do this anymore," he continued, and I watched in horror as he moved to stand beside Lily. Lily and I, we've fallen in love." The silence that followed was deafening. I could feel dozens of eyes on me, waiting for my reaction. The birthday cake on the table, vanilla with buttercream frosting, my favorite, suddenly looked grotesque under the party lights. 24 candles, not yet lit, stood like accusatory fingers pointing at my naivete. How long? The question escaped my lips before I could stop it, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. 2 months, Lily answered, her voice steady, almost defiant. She reached for Ryan's hand, and he let her take it. The same hand that had held mine countless times, that had wiped away my tears during sad movies, that had traced patterns on my back as we fell asleep together. I looked around the room, at my colleagues from the advertising agency trying to hide their secondhand embarrassment, at my cousin Sarah filming everything on her phone, probably out of habit rather than malice, at my neighbor Tom already reaching for his coat. This wasn't just a breakup. This was a public execution of everything I thought I knew about love and trust. "Get out!" My voice was barely a whisper, but in the dead silence of the room, it carried like a shout. "Everyone, please, just get out." People started shuffling toward the door, murmuring awkward goodbyes and "I'm so sorries." Ryan tried to step toward me, perhaps to offer some explanation, but I held up my hand. "Don't. Just don't." I watched as they filed out, Lily and Ryan last, their fingers still intertwined. The door clicked shut behind them, and I was left alone in my perfectly decorated apartment, surrounded by half-empty glasses and plates of barely touched appetizers. The fairy lights continued to twinkle mockingly, casting shadows that seemed to dance with glee at my humiliation. I made it to the bathroom before the tears came. Sinking to the floor, I pressed my back against the cool tile wall and let the sobs rack my body. My carefully applied makeup ran in black streaks down my cheeks, and I could taste the salt of my tears mixing with the remnants of lipstick. In the mirror above the sink, I caught a glimpse of my reflection, mascara-stained cheeks, red-rimmed eyes, hair falling out of its carefully styled updo. 24 years old, and everything I thought I knew about love and friendship had just been shattered in the span of 5 minutes. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal itself. It was the realization that while I'd been planning the perfect birthday party, they'd been planning the perfect way to break my heart. Every lunch Lily and I had shared, every movie night with Ryan, every group outing, it had all been a lie. They'd probably laughed about it behind my back, pitying poor, oblivious Scarlett, who couldn't see what was right in front of her. I stayed on that bathroom floor until my legs went numb and my tears ran dry. Outside, the sounds of the city continued unabated, Cars honking, people laughing, life going on as if my world hadn't just imploded. As midnight approached, marking the official end of my birthday, I made myself a promise. This would be the last time I'd let anyone make me feel this small. I just didn't know then how hard keeping that promise would be. The sun rose the next morning with insulting cheerfulness. I hadn't slept. How could I? My apartment still bore the festive scars of the party. Deflating balloons, scattered gift wrap, and the cake I couldn't bring myself to throw away. Each decoration felt like evidence from a crime scene, marking the death of my relationship and my oldest friendship. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since the party. I finally looked at it around dawn. 47 missed calls, 93 text messages, and countless social media notifications. Everyone wanted to know if I was okay, as if there was any possible way I could be. Sarah had already taken down the video she'd posted, Small Mercies, but the damage was done. The entire office would know by Monday. I scrolled through the messages, my thumb hovering over Ryan's name. 3 missed calls, 5 texts. Scarlett, please let me explain. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. We need to talk. I'm sorry. Please answer. Delete, 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 delete. Lily had tried calling twice. Her only text read, I know you hate me right now, but someday you'll understand. Understand what? How she could smile at me over coffee every Wednesday while sleeping with my boyfriend. How she could help me pick out lingerie for Valentine's Day, knowing she'd be the one wearing something similar for him. My finger trembled as I blocked both their numbers. The apartment felt too small, too full of memories. Ryan's coffee mug still sat in my kitchen cabinet, the ugly one with the cartoon dinosaur that I'd bought him as a joke. Lily's favorite throw blanket was draped over my couch, the one we'd cuddled under during countless movie nights. Every corner held some reminder of their betrayal. I started cleaning mechanically, trying to keep my hands busy so my mind wouldn't wander. But each item I touched triggered a memory. The wine glasses we'd bought together for our 2nd anniversary. The framed photo of the 3 of us at the beach last summer. The stupid magnetic poetry kit on my fridge that Ryan and I used to make dirty haikus with. The cleaning turned frantic. I grabbed garbage bags and started throwing things away. Anything they'd touched. Anything they'd given me. Anything that reminded me of them. By noon, 6 black bags sat by my door, filled with 3 years of memories I couldn't bear to look at anymore. My neighbor Tom knocked around too, carrying a paper bag that smelled like grease and comfort food. Thought you might need this, he said, handing me a burger and fries from the diner down the street, and maybe some company that doesn't require talking. I nodded, grateful for his understanding. We sat on my now bare couch, eating in silence. He didn't ask if I was okay, didn't offer platitudes about how I'd find someone better, didn't tell me everything happens for a reason. He just sat there, a solid presence while I pushed fries around in their container, and tried to remember how to be a person who wasn't defined by her relationship. I have to go to work on Monday, I said finally, my voice hoarse from crying and silence. And I have to sit in meetings and act professional while everyone whispers about what happened. Tom considered this. You could call in sick. For how long? Until you're ready. I don't know when that will be, I admitted. The thought of facing my coworkers, of maintaining composure through 9 hours of pitying looks and awkward conversations, made my stomach churn. Then start with tomorrow, he said simply, and decide about Monday when it comes. After Tom left, I stood in my shower until the hot water ran cold, trying to wash away the feeling of their hands on me. All the hugs, all the casual touches that must have been charged with guilty electricity I'd been too blind to notice. The water couldn't wash away the memories, but at least it masked my fresh tears. Night fell, and I found myself standing in front of my bedroom mirror, really looking at myself for the first time since everything fell apart. My eyes were swollen, my skin blotchy, my hair a mess. But underneath the grief, I saw something else, something hard and determined in my gaze that hadn't been there before. I thought about Lily's text. Someday you'll understand. Maybe she was right, but not in the way she meant. Someday I would understand that this betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth. Someday I would understand that their choices said more about them than about me. Someday I would understand that surviving this would make me stronger than either of them could imagine. But right now, understanding felt impossible. Right now, all I could do was breathe through the pain and try to make it to tomorrow. Right now, that would have to be enough. I lasted exactly 37 minutes at work before the first well-meaning colleague approached my desk with that look. You know the one, Di, where where sympathy and curiosity battle for dominance. Jennifer from accounting, clutching her coffee mug like a shield, stopped by to tell me she was here if I needed to talk. I managed a tight smile and mumbled something about deadlines. The truth was, I'd prepared for this moment all weekend. I'd practiced my composed face in the mirror, rehearsed casual responses to inevitable questions, even picked out an outfit that screamed, "I'm fine." A crisp black blazer and my power heels, armor against pitying glances. But nothing could have prepared me for the reality of sitting at my desk, trying to focus on campaign metrics while acutely aware of the whispers and sidelong glances. My saving grace came in the form of an urgent project landing on my desk at 10 a.m. The Stevens account needed a complete overhaul of their social media strategy by Wednesday. Any other week, I might have complained about the impossible timeline. Today, I grabbed onto it like a lifeline. "I can help with the research if you want." The voice startled me from my intense focus on the computer screen. I looked up to find Liam Parker from the creative team standing by my desk, a stack of files under his arm. I'd worked with him on several projects before, always appreciating his quiet competence and dry humor. Now, I noticed he was carefully keeping his expression neutral. No pity, no curiosity, just a simple offer of professional assistance. "Thanks," I said, surprised by how normal my voice sounded. "Actually, if you could look at their current engagement rates." We spent the next hour reviewing analytics, and not once did he mention my birthday, Ryan, or Lily. It was just work, beautiful, mind-numbing work, with occasional comments about metrics and target demographics. For 60 blessed minutes, I was just Scarlett the advertising executive, not Scarlett the woman who got dumped at her own birthday party. The illusion shattered at lunch. I usually ate with Lily and 2 other women from the office, but today I couldn't face the break room. Instead, I found myself in the small courtyard behind our building, picking at a sandwich I couldn't taste. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Sweetie, why did I have to hear about this from Sandra at yoga? Call me." Delete. Another buzz. An Instagram notification. Ryan had untagged himself from all our photos. I watched 3 years of memories disappear from my feed, leaving awkward gaps like missing teeth in a smile. My thumb hovered over the "you-block" button, but something stopped me. Not hope, God, no, but a strange, masochistic curiosity about how their story would play out. "Mind if I join you?" Liam again, holding his own lunch. Without waiting for an answer, he sat on the other end of the bench and pulled out a newspaper crossword puzzle. He didn't try to make conversation, just sat there working on his puzzle while I pretended to eat my sandwich and fought back tears. 6 letters, rising from defeat, he said after a while. "What?" "The crossword. 6 letters. Rising from defeat." I stared at him for a moment before understanding dawned. "Rebirth," I said quietly. He penciled it in, nodding. "Fits perfectly." Back at my desk, I threw myself into the Stevens proposal with renewed determination. Hours slipped by in a blur of keywords and engagement strategies. Before I knew it, the office was nearly empty, the sky outside my window darkening to purple. "Don't stay too late," Liam called as he passed my desk on his way out. "The Stevens account will still be there tomorrow." I nodded, but kept working. The truth was, I didn't want to go home to my empty apartment, to face another evening of remembering how to exist in spaces that used to hold 3, and now barely contained 1. Here, surrounded by spreadsheets and campaign briefs, I could pretend I was okay. My phone buzzed again. A notification from Facebook. "Ryan Mitchell is in a relationship with Lily Dawson." The words blurred on my screen as tears welled up. 3 days. It had taken them 3 days to make it Facebook official. A hysterical laugh bubbled up in my throat. How long had they been waiting to do that? How many times had they rehearsed their story, planned their public debut? I shut down my computer with shaking hands and gathered my things. In the elevator, I caught my reflection in the mirrored walls. Perfectly maintained makeup, not a hair out of place. The mask I'd worn all day was still intact, but underneath, hairline cracks were beginning to show. Outside, the city was settling into its evening rhythm. People hurried past, heading home to their normal lives, their uncomplicated relationships. A couple walked by, hand in hand, laughing at some private joke. I turned away, unable to bear their casual happiness. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Liam. Got your number from the project directory. Just wanted to say you did great today. See you tomorrow." I stared at the message for a long moment, something warm and unfamiliar stirring in my chest. Not attraction, not yet. I was nowhere near ready for that, but something else. Something that felt a lot like hope. The gym membership card had been gathering dust in my wallet for months. Ryan and I used to go together, but lately, he'd been too busy with work. Now I knew why. Standing outside the fitness center at 6 a.m., I gripped the plastic card like a lifeline. The early morning air was crisp against my skin, and my new workout clothes still had their tags on. Inside, the familiar scent of rubber mats and sanitizer hit me. My old routine had involved chatting with Ryan between sets, sharing equipment, stealing kisses when we thought nobody was looking. Now, I headed straight for the treadmill in the corner, earbuds firmly in place, a clear, do not disturb a signal. I started running, letting the rhythm of my feet drown out my thoughts. 1 mile, 2, 3. Sweat dripped down my back. My lungs burned, but I kept going. Each step felt like putting distance between who I was and who I needed to become. "Miss," a trainer touched my shoulder, making me jump. "You've been running for almost 2 hours. Had I?" My legs trembled as I stepped off the treadmill, and my reflection in the wall-length mirror showed a red-faced, sweaty mess. But underneath the physical exhaustion, I felt something I hadn't in days. Accomplishment. This pain was mine, earned through my own choice, not inflicted by someone else's betrayal. At work, the Stevens proposal was coming together nicely. Liam and I had fallen into an easy rhythm, working late into the evenings. He never pushed for personal conversation, but sometimes he'd drop casual observations that showed he was paying attention. "You seem stronger today," he said one evening, as we reviewed the final draft. "Just started working out again," I replied, not meeting his eyes. "It shows." A pause. "Not physically, though I'm sure that too. You just seem more anchored." I looked up then, surprised by his perception. He quickly turned back to his computer, a slight flush creeping up his neck. Something fluttered in my stomach, but I pushed it down. I wasn't ready. Not yet. That weekend, I decided to reclaim my apartment. The garbage bags of memories still sat in my storage unit. I wasn't ready to deal with those yet, but I could at least make my space feel like mine again. I started in the bedroom, stripping the bed of sheets that still held traces of Ryan's cologne. The mattress we'd picked out together went next. I ordered a new one without letting myself think about the cost. My mother called while I was painting the bedroom walls. "Scarlett, honey, you can't just ignore me forever." "I'm not ignoring you, Mom. I'm busy." I balanced the phone between my ear and shoulder, carefully edging the roller along the ceiling. "Sandra says Ryan and Lily are still working together like nothing happened. How can you stand it?" I nearly dropped the roller. "Mom, please, I don't want to know what they're doing. You should file a complaint with HR. That kind of workplace drama." "I'm painting my bedroom," I interrupted. "Sage green. And I bought a new mattress, queen size, all for myself." She was quiet for a moment. That's good, sweetheart. Are you eating enough?" "I'm taking care of myself," I said. And for the first time, it wasn't entirely a lie. The next day, I did something I'd been putting off. I went through my phone's photo gallery. 3 years of memories stared back at me. Ryan and me in Paris, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. The 3 of us at Lily's brother's wedding. Countless selfies, dinner dates, lazy Sunday mornings. My finger hovered over the delete button. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. One push and it would all be gone. But something stopped me. These moments had happened. They were real, even if they ended in betrayal. Instead of deleting them, I created a new folder labeled Before and moved them all there. Not forgotten, just archived. A text from Liam lit up my screen. "Coffee place near the office has new mint chocolate mochas. Thought of you. You mentioned once it's your favorite." I had mentioned that, weeks ago, in passing. The fact that he remembered made me smile, then immediately feel guilty for smiling. Was it too soon to feel anything resembling happiness? That night, I couldn't sleep. I found myself on my new mattress, staring at the freshly painted walls, thinking about choices. Ryan and Lily had made theirs. Now it was time to make mine. I opened my laptop and did something I'd been considering for weeks. I signed up for a professional development course in digital marketing strategy. It wasn't much, just 1 evening class per week, but it was something that was entirely mine, not tied to Ryan or Lily or even work, just me, choosing to invest in myself, to grow in a direction of my own choosing. As I finally drifted off to sleep, I realized I hadn't checked Ryan's or Lily's social media all day. It wasn't healing, not yet, but maybe it was the start of something like it. The digital marketing class turned out to be exactly what I needed. 2 hours every Wednesday night where nobody knew my story. To my classmates, I was just another professional looking to expand her skill set. No whispers, no pitying looks, no carefully avoided topics. Until Lily walked in. I was in the middle of a group discussion about SEO strategies when I heard her voice. My whole body went rigid before I even turned around. There she was, standing in the doorway, looking as shocked to see me as I was to see her. She'd cut her hair, a sleek bob that made her look more sophisticated, more polished, more like the kind of woman who would steal her best friend's boyfriend. "Scarlett," she said, taking a half step toward me. "I didn't know you'd be here." Of course she didn't. She'd blocked me on all social media after I'd ignored her 7th attempt to explain. I stood up, gathering my things with trembling hands. My group members watched in confused silence as I stuffed my laptop into my bag. "I can find another class," Lily offered, but her tone was more irritated than accommodating, as if I was the one making things difficult. "No," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. "No, you stay. I've already learned what I came here to learn." It wasn't entirely a lie. In that moment, seeing her standing there in her expensive new outfit with her expensive new haircut, I realized something. I didn't feel the gut-wrenching pain I'd expected. Instead, I felt pity. She looked exhausted beneath her perfect makeup, and there was something desperate in the way she kept touching her hair, like she was trying to convince herself she was happy with the changes she'd made. I walked past her without another word, head high, heels clicking against the floor. I made it all the way to my car before the shaking started, not from sadness or anger, but from adrenaline. I'd faced her, and I hadn't crumbled. My phone buzzed. "Liam, still up for reviewing the Stevens campaign updates tomorrow." I stared at the message, suddenly overwhelmed by the normality of it. Here was someone who saw me as I was now, not as an extension of my past trauma. Someone who noticed when I skipped lunch, but never pushed me to talk about why. Someone who remembered my coffee order but never used that knowledge to try to fix me. "Actually," I typed back, "I could use a drink. Want to grab one now." His response came quickly. "Murphy's on 7th, 20 minutes. I almost talked myself out of it 3 times on the drive over. Was I ready for this? What if he expected something I couldn't give? What if this ruined our working relationship? But when I walked into the bar and saw him sitting there in his work clothes, looking slightly nervous and completely normal, my anxiety eased. "Rough night?" he asked, as I slid onto the bar stool next to him. "You could say that." I ordered a whiskey sour, my drink, not the fruity cocktails Ryan always insisted I should like. I ran into Lily at my marketing class. Liam's eyebrows shot up, but he didn't press for details. Instead, he said, "Want to hear about how I accidentally sent our client a meme instead of their logo mock-up today?" I found myself laughing for the first time in weeks as he described the mortifying moment of realization. One drink turned into 2 as we swapped workplace disaster stories. He told me about his sister's destination wedding that turned into an impromptu evacuation when a hurricane hit, and I shared the story of my first pitch meeting where I'd gotten locked in the bathroom minutes before my presentation. It was nice, not a date, not therapy, just 2 people sharing stories and drinks on a Wednesday night. When he walked me to my car, there was a moment, just a moment, where I thought he might try to kiss me. Instead, he simply said, "You're stronger than you think, Scarlett." At home, I opened my laptop to withdraw from the marketing class. Instead, I found myself enrolling in a different section, one that met on Mondays. Lily could keep Wednesdays. I was done letting her presence dictate my choices. As I got ready for bed, my phone lit up with a text from Ryan. "Lily told me she saw you tonight. Can we talk? I miss you." 3 months ago, that message would have sent me into a spiral. Tonight, I simply deleted it and set my phone to Do Not Disturb. Tomorrow would be busy. The Stevens campaign was entering its final phase. I had a morning workout scheduled, and I'd been thinking about getting a dog. My life was full enough without making space for their drama. In bed, I touched my lips, remembering how close Liam had stood in the parking lot. For the first time, I let myself imagine a future where I might be ready for something new. Not now, maybe not even soon, but someday. And for now, that possibility was enough. The Stevens presentation was scheduled for 10 a.m., but I arrived at the office before 7. The conference room became my war room. Printouts arranged in perfect order, graphics displayed on the large screen, my notes reviewed for the 100th time. This wasn't just another pitch. This was my chance to prove something to myself. "You're going to wear a hole in the carpet." I stopped pacing and turned to find Liam in the doorway, holding 2 coffee cups. He handed me one. Mint chocolate mocha, of course. "Thanks," I said, inhaling the familiar scent. "And I just want everything to be perfect. It already is. We've been over every detail." He stepped closer, adjusting my laptop screen slightly. "But you might want to fix your lipstick. You've been chewing your lower lip again." I caught my reflection in the darkened screen. He was right. As I reapplied my lipstick, I noticed my hands weren't shaking anymore. The woman in the reflection looked confident, professional, ready. She looked like someone who could handle anything. The clients arrived exactly on time, Mr. Stevens himself and his entire marketing team. As they filed into the conference room, I felt the familiar flutter of pre-presentation nerves, but something else too, excitement. This was my element. This was where I belonged. "Good morning," I began, my voice clear and strong. "Today, we're going to show you how to transform your social media presence." The presentation flowed perfectly. Every transition, every data point, every carefully crafted strategy landed exactly as planned. When I showed them the projected engagement rates, I saw Mr. Stevens lean forward in his chair. By the time I reached our innovative influencer partnership proposal, his marketing director was nodding enthusiastically. Liam handled the creative aspects, seamlessly picking up where I left off. We moved together like a well-rehearsed dance, anticipating each other's points, building on each other's ideas. I caught him smiling at me during the Q&A session as I fielded complex questions about ROI projections without missing a beat. "Well," Mr. Stevens said when we finished, "I think it's clear why your agency is the best in the business. When can you start?" The rest of the meeting passed in a blur of handshakes and contract discussions. As the clients left, my boss pulled me aside. "Exceptional work, Scarlett. I'm putting you in charge of the entire Stevens account." He paused. "I know things have been difficult lately, but you've handled everything with remarkable professionalism." I thanked him, fighting back unexpected tears. 3 months ago, I'd been the girl who got dumped at her birthday party. Now I was the woman who just landed the biggest account of her career. "Celebration dinner?" Liam asked as we packed up the conference room. "My treat." I hesitated. We'd been careful to keep our growing friendship mostly workplace-focused since that night at Murphy's, but today felt different. Today, I felt different. "Actually," I said, "I have a better idea. Want to help me pick out a dog?" His face lit up. "Seriously, you're doing it." I nodded. "The apartment feels too quiet, and I've always wanted a dog. Ryan was allergic, so we never—" I stopped, realizing I'd mentioned him without feeling that familiar stab of pain. An hour later, we were at the local shelter, surrounded by barking dogs. I'd thought I wanted a puppy, but something drew me to an older dog in the corner, a mixed breed with gentle eyes and a graying muzzle. "That's Luna," the shelter worker told us. "She was surrendered when her family moved. She's been here 3 months. Luna pressed against the cage door, tail wagging hopefully. Something about her spoke to me. Maybe it was the way she held herself with quiet dignity, despite being abandoned. Or maybe it was just that we both knew what it meant to have to start over. "She's perfect," I said. The adoption paperwork took longer than expected, and by the time we left the shelter, it was dark. Liam helped me carry the supplies to my car: bed, food, toys, everything Luna would need in her new home. "Thank you," I said, as we loaded the last bag. "For everything. The presentation. This—" I gestured at the pet supplies. "Being my friend." He turned to face me, his expression serious. "Scarlett, But Luna chose that moment to bark from the back seat, making us both laugh. The moment passed, but something had shifted. Standing there in the shelter parking lot, with my new dog and my successful presentation and my slowly healing heart, I realized I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. That night, curled up on my couch with Luna snoring softly beside me, I scrolled through my phone's photo gallery. The folder labeled Before was still there, but I hadn't opened it in weeks. Instead, I had new pictures. Luna investigating her new home, Liam making faces at her through the shelter cage, my proud smile after the presentation. My phone buzzed with a text from Liam. "Luna settled in, okay?" I snapped a picture of her sprawled across my lap, completely at home, and sent it to him. Then, After a moment's hesitation, I added, "Thank you for today, for seeing me as I am now, not as who I was." His response came quickly. "I like who you are now. She's pretty amazing." I pressed my face into Luna's fur, hiding my smile even though no one was there to see it. Maybe, just maybe, he was right. Luna and I had developed a morning routine. Up at 6, quick walk around the block, then a longer run in the park. She wasn't exactly a running dog, more of a leisurely trot and frequent sniff kind of girl, but she was perfect company. No expectations, no judgments, just quiet solidarity. We were on our usual path when I saw them, Ryan and Lily, having what appeared to be an intense argument near the park's coffee cart. I pulled Luna behind a large oak tree, my heart hammering. They hadn't seen me. "You can't keep doing this," Lily's voice carried across the morning air. "I gave up everything for you, my best friend, my reputation." "I never asked you to," Ryan shot back. "You're the one who insisted on telling her at the party. You're the one who, because I thought we were building something real." Lily's voice cracked. "But you're still in love with her, aren't you?" I should have walked away, should have turned around and gone home, leaving their drama behind. But I stood frozen, Luna pressing against my legs as if sensing my distress. "That's not fair," Ryan said, his voice softer now. "You knew I was with Scarlett for 3 years. You can't expect me to just switch off my feelings overnight. It's been 4 months. Lily's laugh was bitter. "And you still have her photo as your phone background." My stomach lurched. What photo? I'd removed all our pictures from social media, archived every memory. The idea that he was still carrying my image around while sleeping next to her. Luna chose that moment to bark, loud and sharp in the morning quiet. Ryan and Lily's heads snapped in our direction. I didn't wait to see their reactions. I turned and ran, Luna keeping pace beside me, her leash tangled in my trembling fingers. I didn't stop until we reached my apartment, my lungs burning and tears streaming down my face. Inside, I collapsed on the floor, and Luna immediately crawled into my lap, all 60 pounds of her, licking my face until I had to laugh despite myself. My phone buzzed. 3 messages from Ryan. "Was that you in the park? Please, can we talk? I miss you so much." And 1 from Lily. "I hope you're happy now." I deleted them all without responding, then did something I'd been putting off. I blocked them both on my phone. As I did it, I realized my hands weren't shaking anymore. The tears on my face were already drying. At work, I threw myself into the Stevens account. The campaign was exceeding all projections, and Mr. Stevens had already approved an expanded budget for the next quarter. I was in the middle of reviewing influencer metrics when Liam appeared at my desk. "Lunch?" he asked, then frowned when he saw my face. "What's wrong?" I told him about the park incident over sandwiches in the courtyard. He listened quietly, his expression thoughtful. "You know what strikes me about this," he said finally. "A few months ago, this would have devastated you. Today, you're sitting here eating lunch and planning your next client meeting." He was right, I realized. The encounter had shaken me. Yes, but it hadn't broken me. Their drama felt like exactly that. Drama, belonging to someone else's story. "I have something to show you," I said, pulling out my phone. I opened the folder labeled Before and handed it to him. "I've been holding on to these, afraid to delete them, afraid to look at them. But now," he scrolled through a few photos, then looked at me questioningly. "I don't need them anymore," I said. "They're just pictures. They don't have any power over me." Together, we watched as I deleted the folder. 3 years of memories vanished with a tap. But instead of feeling empty, I felt lighter. "So," Liam said after a moment, "about dinner tomorrow." My heart skipped. We'd been dancing around this for weeks. Lunches that ran long, text conversations that stretched into the night, moments when the air between us felt charged with possibility. "Luna gets lonely when I'm gone too long," I said, not quite meeting his eyes. "I was thinking takeout at your place." His voice was casual, but I could hear the undertone of nervousness. "I could bring that Thai food you like. Maybe finally beat you at Scrabble." I looked at him then, really looked at him, at the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the slight ink stain on his collar from the marker he always carried, the careful way he held himself as he waited for my answer. He wasn't Ryan. He wasn't trying to be. He was just Liam, and maybe that was exactly what I needed. "Okay," I said, "but fair warning, Luna will try to steal your pad thai." And I never lose at Scrabble. His smile lit up his whole face. Challenge accepted. That evening, walking Luna one last time before bed, I passed the oak tree from this morning. The memory of Ryan and Lily's argument felt distant, like a scene from a movie I'd watched long ago. Their story wasn't my story anymore. I had my own to write. I spent an embarrassing amount of time deciding what to wear for a takeout and Scrabble night. Luna watched from my bed as I tried on and discarded outfit after outfit, her head tilted in what I chose to interpret as supportive judgment rather than mockery. "Too dressed up?" I asked her, modeling a silk blouse. She yawned dramatically. "You're right. It's just Liam. Just my friend Liam, who knows my coffee order and makes me laugh and has really nice hands." Luna barked. Okay. I hear myself. I finally settled on jeans and a soft gray sweater, casual but cute. As I was fixing my hair, my phone lit up with an email from HR. Mandatory department meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. My stomach tightened. Mandatory meetings were never good news. The doorbell rang before I could spiral into worst-case scenarios. I opened it to find Liam juggling several bags of Thai food, a bottle of wine, and what appeared to be, "Is that a dog toy?" He grinned sheepishly. I saw it at the store and thought of Luna. Its squeaks and everything. As if summoned, Luna appeared, tail wagging furiously. Liam knelt to greet her, and she immediately covered his face in kisses. "Hello, beautiful girl. Look what I brought you." I watched them together, something warm unfurling in my chest. Ryan had always just tolerated Luna's presence, making it clear she was my dog, my responsibility. But Liam had brought her a present. "The food's getting cold," I said, trying to hide how much this simple gesture had affected me. We settled on the floor around my coffee table, containers of pad thai and green curry spread between us. Luna stationed herself strategically between us, executing a masterful campaign of puppy dog eyes. "No chance," I told her firmly. "Oh, you have very expensive grain-free dinner in your bowl?" "Just one piece," Liam pleaded, already reaching for a piece of chicken. "Don't you dare. She'll never forget. And then I'll have to deal with the begging every time I eat Thai food." He laughed, popping the chicken in his own mouth instead. "Speaking of dealing with things, did you get the HR email?" My smile faded. "Yeah. Any idea what that's about?" "Rumors are flying. Apparently, Lily had a meltdown in the creative department today. Something about Ryan and inappropriate workplace behavior." I set down my fork. "What kind of inappropriate behavior?" "No one's sure, but she was talking about hostile work environment and threatening to file complaints." He watched me carefully. "Are you okay?" I considered the question. A few months ago, news like this would have sent me into an anxiety spiral. Now, I felt annoyed, mostly at the idea that their drama might affect the workplace I'd fought so hard to reclaim as my safe space. "I'm okay," I said, realizing it was true. "Just tired of their chaos touching my life." "We could always find new jobs," Liam suggested, half joking. "I hear Antarctica needs advertising executives." Tempting, but Luna hates the cold. I reached for the Scrabble board, deliberately changing the subject. Ready to lose. The game was competitive from the start. Liam was good, really good. He played quixotic across a triple word score, earning a whistled appreciation from me. I countered with zealous on my next turn. "I should warn you," he said, as we neared the end of the game. Our scores nearly tied. "I'm very attracted to women who can beat me at word games." I fumbled my tiles, my heart racing. We'd been flirting for weeks, dancing around this thing between us, but neither of us had been so direct before. "Good thing I'm winning then," I managed to say, laying down my final word. "Phoenix." He stared at the board, then at me, rising from the ashes, something like that. The air between us felt charged, electric. Luna, sensing the tension, chose that moment to drop her new squeaky toy directly on the Scrabble board, sending tiles flying everywhere. We both burst out laughing, the moment broken but not lost. As we cleaned up the scattered tiles, our hands kept brushing, each touch sending little sparks through my skin. At the door later, Liam hesitated. "About tomorrow's meeting. Whatever happens, you're not alone in this. You know that, right?" I nodded, unable to speak past the sudden tightness in my throat. He reached out slowly, giving me plenty of time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "Scarlett," he said softly. Luna barked again, making us both jump. Liam laughed, dropping his hand. "Your dog has impeccable timing. She's protective, I said, but I was smiling. Smart girl. He stepped back. See you tomorrow. Yeah, I said. Tomorrow. After he left, I sat on the floor with Luna, scratching behind her ears. What do you think, girl? Am I ready for this? She responded by dropping her toy in my lap, tail wagging. Maybe she was right. Maybe readiness wasn't about waiting for perfect healing or perfect timing. Maybe it was about being brave enough to try again, scars and all. I fell asleep that night thinking about Liam's smile, about Phoenix rising from ashes, about new beginnings. Tomorrow would bring what it would bring. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, I was excited about what the future might hold. The HR meeting room was too small for this many people. I sat near the back, Liam beside me, watching as our colleagues filed in. Ryan arrived last, choosing a seat in the front row. No sign of Lily. Sandra from HR stood at the front, her expression grave. Thank you all for coming. We've had some concerning reports about workplace conduct, particularly regarding personal relationships affecting professional environments. As a result, we're implementing some immediate changes. My stomach dropped as she continued. Ryan was being moved to a different floor. Lily had requested a transfer to our London office, effective immediately. Any ongoing projects would be reassigned. Additionally, Sandra added, we're updating our policy on workplace relationships. All employees must disclose any personal relationships to HR to ensure proper management of potential conflicts of interest. I felt Liam tense beside me. Around the room, people were shooting glances in my direction, probably wondering if I had something to do with these changes. I kept my face carefully neutral, though my hands were clenched tight in my lap. After the meeting, my boss pulled me into his office. I want you to take over Ryan's accounts, he said without preamble. You've done exceptional work with Stevens, and frankly, we need someone stable and professional right now. What happened? I asked, unable to contain my curiosity. He sighed. Lily filed a harassment complaint against Ryan, claimed he was using their relationship to manipulate her career advancement, then threatening to end things when she didn't play along. It's messy. Messy. That was one word for it. I thought about Ryan's photo of me on his phone, about Lily's outburst in the park. They'd both been playing games, and now those games had professional consequences. Back at my desk, I found a post-it note from Liam. Lunch. We should talk. My heart stuttered. Of course. The new relationship disclosure policy. Whatever was growing between us, we'd have to define it now. Put it in writing. Make it official or not. I found him in our usual spot in the courtyard, looking uncharacteristically serious. So, he said as I sat down, that was quite a meeting. Yeah, I picked at my salad, not really hungry. Listen, about the disclosure policy. We don't have to figure it all out right now, he interrupted. I know this is complicated. With your history here, and the timing, is it? I set down my fork. Complicated, I mean, because from where I'm sitting, it feels surprisingly simple. He looked at me then, hope flickering across his face. Yeah. I took a deep breath. I like you, Liam. Not because you helped me through a hard time, or because you're different from Ryan, or because you're good with my dog. I just like you. For you. His smile was like sunrise. I like you too. Just you. The you who beats me at Scrabble and stress bakes at midnight and loves her dog more than people. So maybe, I gestured vaguely, we fill out the stupid HR form and see where this goes. I'd like that. The moment was interrupted by a commotion from the building. Through the courtyard windows, we could see Ryan storming out, box of belongings in his arms. He spotted us and froze. For a long moment, we all just stared at each other. Then Ryan's eyes dropped to where Liam's hand had instinctively moved closer to mine on the table. Something flickered across his face. Pain, resignation, understanding. I hope you're happy, he said. But unlike Lily's bitter accusation in the park, his tone was genuine. I am, I replied simply. He nodded once, then continued walking. I watched him go, feeling nothing but a distant sort of sympathy. He and Lily had made their choices, and now they were facing the consequences. But their story wasn't my story anymore. You okay? Liam asked softly. I turned back to him, really looking at this man who had become so important to me, not because I needed saving, but because he had seen me at my strongest and my most vulnerable, and had respected both equally. Actually, yes. I pulled out my phone and opened my calendar. Want to get dinner tonight? Somewhere nice? Luna can survive one evening without us. Are you asking me on a real date? Scarlett Harper. Well, if we're going to fill out relationship disclosure forms, we should probably have an actual relationship to disclose. His laugh was bright and genuine. I'd love to, but first, he pulled out an HR form from his bag. Want to scandalize Sandra by turning this in together? I took the form, unable to stop smiling. 2 copies, one for each of us. Simple boxes to check, lines to sign. On paper, it looked so formal, so official. But as I started filling it out, I realized it felt right. This wasn't about the past, about Ryan or Lily or office drama. This was about choosing my own future, on my own terms. Ready? Liam asked when we'd both finished. I looked at our completed forms, at his familiar handwriting next to mine. Ready. Together, we walked to the HR office, our steps in perfect sync. Behind us, through the courtyard windows, the afternoon sun cast our shadows long and intertwined across the pavement. Ahead of us lay something new, something untested, something real, and I wasn't afraid at all. I'd forgotten how much effort first dates required. After trying on half my wardrobe, I finally settled on a deep blue dress I'd bought months ago, but never worn. It still had the tags on. I'd purchased it for a dinner with Ryan that never happened. Luna watched from her bed as I applied mascara, her head cocked to one side. Don't look at me like that, I told her. This isn't a betrayal. You'll still be my #1 girl. A text from Liam lit up my phone. Running 5 minutes late. Crisis with the Martinez account. Still okay for 7:30? I smiled, remembering how Ryan's running late texts usually meant at least an hour. Of course, I replied. The Martinez thing you mentioned in the status meeting. Yeah, someone forgot to update the timeline spreadsheet, and now the client's freaking out. But I've got it handled. Can't wait to see you. X. That little X shouldn't have made my heart flutter, but it did. At exactly 7:35, my doorbell rang. Liam stood there in a charcoal suit that made him look both familiar and startlingly different from the man I saw every day at work. He was holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. These reminded me of you, he said, handing them to me. Beautiful, but not too perfectly arranged. Smooth talker, I teased, but I was already looking for a vase. Luna trotted over to inspect him, her tail wagging when she recognized her friend. Sorry, girl. Liam knelt to scratch her ears. No Thai food tonight, but I'll bring you something special tomorrow. You're spoiling her, I said, arranging the flowers. She deserves it. She's been taking good care of you. Something about the simple sincerity in his voice made my throat tight. He noticed everything. This man. The big things and the small ones. The restaurant he'd chosen was new. A small Italian place I'd never been to. As we were led to our table, I realized with a start that I hadn't been on a proper first date in almost 4 years. The thought should have been scary, but instead, it felt exciting. Nervous? Liam asked as we settled in. A little, I admitted. It's strange, isn't it? We know each other so well, but this feels different, he finished. Good different. Yeah, I smiled. Good different. We ordered wine and appetizers, falling into easy conversation. He told me about his sister's latest dating disaster, and I shared stories about Luna's adventures at the dog park. But there was an undercurrent of awareness now, a spark that hadn't been there during our casual lunches. Can I ask you something? He said as our main courses arrived. That day in the park, when you ran into Ryan and Lily, what made you finally block their numbers? I twirled pasta on my fork, considering. I realized I was tired of being a character in their story. I wanted to write my own. And what kind of story is that? His eyes were intent on mine. I'm still figuring it out. But I think I met his gaze. I think it's about a woman who learns that losing herself in someone else's love story isn't the same as writing her own. I'd read that story, he said softly. After dinner, we walked along the river. The night was cool, but not cold. The sky clear enough to see a few stars despite the city lights. When Liam took my hand, it felt as natural as breathing. I have a confession, he said, stopping to lean against the riverfront railing. I've liked you since before. Everything. But I never would have acted on it. Not then. Why not? Because you were happy. Or seemed happy. And then after. I didn't want to be your rebound. I wanted to be sure you had time to become you again first. I stepped closer to him. Close enough to see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. And now, his hand came up to cup my cheek. Now I'm looking at a woman who rebuilt herself from the ground up, who faces every day with grace and strength, who makes me laugh and challenges me, and I kissed him. Under the stars, beside the river, I pressed my lips to his and felt the world shift on its axis. His arms went around me, pulling me closer, and everything else fell away. The past, the pain, the long road that had led us here. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Wow, he whispered. Yeah, I couldn't stop smiling. Wow. My phone buzzed in my purse. For the first time in months, I didn't feel a flicker of anxiety about who it might be. Let the world spin on without us for a moment. I should get home, I said reluctantly. Luna gets anxious if I'm out too late. He nodded, but didn't let go of my hand. Can I see you tomorrow? Maybe take Luna to the park? I'd like that. I squeezed his hand. She'd like that too. The ride home was quiet, comfortable. At my door, he kissed me again. Softer this time, but no less electric. Good night, Scarlett. Inside, Luna greeted me with her usual enthusiasm. As I changed into pajamas, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. I was glowing, radiant in a way that had nothing to do with makeup or the perfect dress. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. Thank you for tonight, for taking a chance, for being you. X. I hugged Luna, who endured my excitement with patient dignity. What do you think, girl? Ready for some new adventures? She wagged her tail, and I took that as a yes. Are you sure about this? My boss leaned back in his chair, studying me over his reading glasses. The London office is asking specifically for you to lead their digital transformation initiative. It would mean relocating for at least 6 months. 6 months. In London, where Lily was. A few months ago, this coincidence would have felt like some cosmic joke. Now, it barely registered as a footnote in the opportunity before me. The London office was struggling to adapt to new market demands, and they needed someone to overhaul their entire digital strategy. It was exactly the kind of challenge I'd been dreaming of. When would they need an answer? I asked, already mentally cataloging everything I'd need to consider. End of the week. They want you there by the 1st of next month if you accept. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to decide whether to upend my entire life for the biggest opportunity of my career. I found Liam in the break room, doctoring his coffee with an unnecessary amount of sugar. Hey, beautiful, he smiled, then caught my expression. What's wrong? I told him about the London offer. His face went through a series of emotions before settling on something carefully neutral. Wow, that's amazing. Scarlett, they'd be lucky to have you. But, he set down his coffee. No buts. This is your decision. He ran a hand through his hair. I'm trying not to be selfish here. My heart squeezed. We'd been dating for just over a month, but it felt longer. Every morning, he brought me coffee and kissed me hello, regardless of who was watching. Every evening, he and Luna waited for me at the dog park, both of them lighting up when they saw me approach. We'd fallen into a rhythm that felt natural. Easy, right? I haven't decided anything yet, I said. There's a lot to consider. Like what? His tone was gentle, encouraging. Luna, for one. The quarantine requirements for pets entering the UK are complicated, and my apartment, my clients here. I hesitated. Us. He stepped closer, not touching me but near enough that I could feel his warmth. Don't make us part of the equation. What we have is real, Scarlett. 6 months won't change that. You sound very sure. I am. He finally reached for my hand. Do you know what I thought the first time I saw you present to a client? Before everything that happened with Ryan, before we were friends. I shook my head. I thought, there's someone who could change the world if she wanted to. And now the world's calling. Who am I to stand in your way? Tears pricked at my eyes. And when did you get so wise? Must be all those Scrabble games you keep winning. They're very enlightening. That evening, I took Luna for an extra long walk, using the time to think. The city streets were busy with after-work crowds, everyone rushing somewhere important. A few months ago, I'd felt stuck in place while the world moved around me. Now I had choices. Real, exciting, terrifying choices. My phone buzzed with a text from Liam. Whatever you decide, I'm in your corner, always. X. I stopped walking, suddenly overwhelmed by the difference between this message and similar ones I'd received from Ryan over the years. Ryan's support had always come with conditions, with subtle hints about what he thought I should do. But Liam just offered pure, unconditional support. At home, I opened my laptop and started researching pet transport services. short-term furnished rentals in London, international banking. By midnight, I had a dozen tabs open and a growing list of questions, but one thing was becoming clear. This was possible. Challenging, expensive, complicated, but possible. Luna rested her head on my knee, looking up at me with those soulful eyes. "What do you think, girl? Ready for an adventure?" A knock at my door startled us both. I opened it to find Liam, holding a stack of papers. "Before you say anything," he said quickly, "I'm not here to influence your decision. I just thought you might want to see these." The papers were printouts about pet relocation services, UK pet regulations, and, most surprisingly, successful long-distance relationship statistics. "You've been researching too," I said softly. He shrugged, looking almost embarrassed. "I told you. I'm in your corner. That means being prepared for whatever you decide." I pulled him inside and kissed him, trying to pour everything I was feeling into that one gesture. When we broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "I'm scared," I admitted. "Not of London or the job or even running into Lily. I'm scared of losing this, of losing us." "You won't." His voice was firm. "We'll figure it out. Daily video calls, weekend visits when possible. I'll teach Luna how to use FaceTime." I laughed despite myself. She'd probably be better at it than me. Probably. He pulled back to look at me. "The question isn't whether we'll make it work. The question is, what do you want, Scarlett? Not what's easiest or safest or most convenient. What do you want?" I looked around my apartment, at the life I'd rebuilt from scratch, at the dog who'd helped heal my heart, at the man who'd shown me what real support looked like. Then I looked at the laptop screen still open to London apartments and felt that familiar flutter of excitement in my stomach. "I want it all," I said finally. "The job, the adventure, and you. Is that too much to ask?" His smile was like sunrise. "Not at all. That's exactly what you deserve." My apartment looked strange, half-packed, with empty spaces where furniture used to be, and walls bare of photographs. Luna's bed still occupied its usual corner, but most of her toys were already packed in boxes labeled London in my careful handwriting. "You know," Liam said, taping up another box, "when I imagined helping you pack up your apartment, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind." I threw a wadded-up piece of packing paper at him. "What did you have in mind?" "Oh, you know, moving in together, maybe, not moving across an ocean, having second thoughts." I tried to keep my tone light, but some anxiety must have slipped through. He set down his packing tape and crossed the room to me. "Never. I meant what I said. We'll make this work." The past 2 weeks had been a whirlwind of preparations. Luna's pet passport was in order, my visa application approved, and I'd found a lovely furnished flat in Notting Hill that allowed dogs. The London office was excited to have me, and my boss here had already approved my temporary transfer with a knowing smile. "You'll be back," he'd said, "better and stronger than ever." A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. My neighbor Tom stood there with a small gift bag. "A going-away present," he said, handing it to me, "for both of you." Inside was a framed photo of Luna and me in the park, taken just after I'd adopted her. I was laughing at something off camera, and Luna was looking up at me with complete adoration. "Tom," my voice caught. "You were so brave," he said simply. "Both of you. London better be ready." After he left, I showed the photo to Liam. "This was from right after everything. I didn't even know he took it." "You look happy," Liam observed. "Even then, I was starting to be." I set the photo carefully in my carry-on bag. "It's strange. A year ago, my whole world fell apart in this apartment. Now I'm leaving it behind, and I feel— how do you feel? Free." My phone buzzed. An email from the London office about my first week's schedule. As I read it, a familiar name caught my eye. Lily would be one of my team members. "Everything okay?" Liam asked, noticing my expression. I showed him the email. The universe has a strange sense of humor. "Are you worried?" I thought about it. "No," I realized. "She's just a colleague now. Nothing more, nothing less." He pulled me into a hug, and I breathed in his familiar scent. We'd already planned his first visit, 3 weeks from now, a long weekend exploring my new city together. Until then, we had video calls and text messages and the promise of something worth waiting for. Luna patted over, pressing against our legs. We both reached down to pet her automatically, our hands meeting in her fur. "Look at us," Liam laughed, now already mastering the long-distance group hug. That evening, after Liam left and the last box was taped, I sat on my bare floor with Luna. Tomorrow, the movers would come for the boxes. The day after, Luna and I would board a plane to our new adventure. I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram, clicking on Ryan's profile for the first time in months. His recent posts showed him alone, looking thoughtful. His relationship status had changed back to single. Part of me, a very small part, wondered if he ever regretted his choices, but that wasn't my story anymore. I closed Instagram and opened my camera instead, snapping a selfie with Luna among the boxes. I sent it to Liam with the caption, "Ready for our next chapter. X." His response came quickly, "Can't wait to read it with you." Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered through my half-empty apartment, remembering. Here was where I'd collapsed after my birthday party. Here was where Liam and I had played Scrabble. Here was where I'd decided to adopt Luna. Here was where I'd learned to be strong again. But the memories didn't hurt anymore. They were just stepping stones that had led me here, to this moment, to this choice, to this version of myself. My phone lit up with a text from Liam. "Can't sleep either." I smiled. Too excited, scared, but good scared. "Want company? I bring excellent midnight snacks." 20 minutes later, we sat on my balcony, sharing cookies and watching the city lights. Luna dozed between us, content in her little pack. "Tell me something," Liam said softly. "What's the first thing you want to do in London?" "Besides work," I thought for a moment. "I want to get lost. Just pick a direction and walk until nothing looks familiar. Then find my way back home again." "That's very metaphorical of you." "I mean it literally." I laughed. "But I guess it works as a metaphor too." He took my hand, threading our fingers together. "You know what I love about you?" My heart skipped. We hadn't said that word yet. "What?" "You never run from the hard things. You face them, learn from them, grow stronger. It's beautiful to watch." I leaned my head on his shoulder, breathing in the night air, the possibility, the future stretching out before us. "Thank you for seeing me, the real me, not who I was, or who I was trying to be, but who I am, always," he whispered. Above us, stars peeked through the city's glow. Below, traffic hummed its constant urban lullaby. And here, in this moment, I was exactly where I needed to be. Tomorrow would bring change. London would bring challenges. Life would bring uncertainties. But I wasn't the same woman who had crumbled on her birthday night, believing love was something that happened to you rather than something you chose. I was Scarlett Harper. I had a dog who loved me, a man who respected me, and a future I had chosen for myself. I had survived betrayal not by becoming harder, but by becoming more fully myself. And this, all of this, was just the beginning. The end. Thanks for watching to the end. What did you think of this story? Let us know in the comments below. We value your opinion. Click the like button if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe to receive more captivating stories. Activate the bell so that you're always the first to know when a new video is published. See you next time.